Hola, hola todos. I hope you're doing well. My name is Estrellita, and I'm a first-generation Latina college and post-grad coach that supports first-generation students navigating higher education paths as well as post-grad opportunities. Now, I'm so excited to be back yet again for another video. In case you missed it, I'm pushing out videos every single day in honor of Latino Hispanic Heritage Month. This is my favorite time of year. Over the years, over here at Cafecito con Estrellita, we've always done something to highlight this time of year. And for this year around, we are making sure that we push out the content in a resourceful style needed to continue supporting nuestra gente navigating higher education and post-grad opportunities, which is also catering towards career exploration. Now, I'm sure you're not surprised, but I'm very excited for today's video because I'm just going to be sharing advice to give to first-generation transfer students. AKA, you started at community college and now you're at a 4-year university, whether that's a private or a public university. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I wish I had content like this when I was an undergrad who had just transferred to UC Santa Barbara. There wasn't really resources like this available for me, so that's why I'm sitting down, doing my part to give back and support my community. But first, let's go ahead and talk about my webcam from Logitech. My webcam, oh my gosh, I can't talk. My webcam I've had since 2020 when I first started podcasting. And I used it so much during my interview episodes of season 2 and season 3 of the podcast. And till this day, I still use it when I sit in virtual meetings with brand partnerships. I just really appreciate the clean cut appearance that I get from a webcam, and the fact that I've had it for so long really says something. All right, numero uno, study habits. I just want you to know, if you are coming fresh from community college to a 4-year university, whether it's a quarter system or a semester system, your study habits will change. Now, to highlight very quickly, the way a quarter system functions, it's a 3-quarter system and they're 10 weeks long each. So it's like if you're taking 12 units a quarter, you have 10 weeks to complete those 12 units. Now for a semester system, it varies by campus, but it's usually 15, 16 weeks. And in those 15, 16 weeks, that's how much time you have to complete your 12 units or 14 units or however many you choose. And just hearing those numbers, 10 weeks, 14, 15 weeks, 16, yes, you get the point. There's a big difference. I just want to make sure that you remember that, because as a former transfer student myself, when I went from a semester system at my community college to a 4-year quarter system, there were a lot of challenges. And there were so many moments where I'm just like, wow, am I not smart enough? Do I not belong here? But no, it's not that. It's just the system is different, so your study strategies need to be different. Now, I am younger me was very guilty of when I would have my readings, I would easily try to spend 6 to 8 hours trying to complete one reading. Now, don't get me wrong, academic readings, they take a while, but that's when we do eventually have to learn study smarter, not harder, which I can talk about a little more in a different video, so that we're not sitting there for hours. Because when we're sitting down for hours trying to read one article, one assignment, we miss out on all the other experiences that come from universities, such as the networking opportunities, being able to just live your life. I mean, for crying out loud, my senior year, my apartment was 2 streets away from the beach. And when I look back, I just wish I would have implemented my study strategies a lot sooner so that I could enjoy more beach time instead of just sitting inside and reading the same article for hours. And the reason why I would do that is because I would first start off on the first page, and then I get past it, I'm just like, whoa, I didn't understand anything. Let me go ahead and start again. And then I do it again, and then I do it again without really giving myself any breaks. Then I would get distracted and scroll on my phone. The next thing you know, an hour or 2 passes by, and then I'm just like, whoa, I need to finish this reading. I go back, I'm still on the same page, and it's like, I'm not allowing myself to move forward, which is why then eventually what I figured out is I started doing time blocking. Now, there are apps available on your phone for time blocking, but personally, I just used the timer on my phone That's just what worked better for me at the time. But there's different ways for you to do that. And essentially what I would do is I would set up a 30-minute timer and read what I could, knowing that I was gonna focus on the first couple of sentences in the paragraph, such as the abstract, introduction, discussion. And then once my 30-minute timer went off, I would take a step back and go walk outside to get some sunlight, because we need that. And whether it was for 5, 10, 15 minutes, then I would go ahead and drink some water to replenish, because at some point in my academic career, I was very guilty of drinking more caffeine than water, which should never be the case. And that's coming from a mujer that identifies as Cafecito con Estrellita. And then after that break time, I would go back in, and no matter where I stopped, no matter where I was, I would set that 30-minute timer again and then continue where I left off. And that was super, super helpful. And I was able to get a lot more done that way. Another thing that helped me out a lot with my study habits as a transfer student was connecting with my classmates and getting together and splitting up the reading and then sharing a Google Doc. Some of us had different perspectives of the reading, but then that's when we would come together once a week and just discuss the reading, even if it was just for 20, 30 minutes at the library, and we'd go from there. Which then this study tip helps us transition to our next topic: how to find our community as a transfer student at our 4-year university. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it does take some time. And I'm specifically talking about this transfer student experience, because whether you are a transfer student that is living on your university campus or you're commuting from home, it's going to take some time to find your village, your community with your peers. I also want to remind you that that is okay. I wanna say it took a very long time to make friends. And thankfully, I did have my roommate, so we would study together and things like that when our schedules aligned. But sometimes it'd be a little hard because we weren't studying the same major. But despite all of that, I was able, again, to find my community on my campus. And the way that that worked was literally me just trying to talk to people, whether that was on my on-campus job, whether that was during my tutoring sessions for my calculus classes, or attending events by the multicultural clubs, organizations, sororities on my campus. And then going back to how did Estrellita find her community to study with, to divide those readings and just work together. And I know this probably sounds so simple, but sometimes it's the most simple things that takes us as humans the longest to do. And I literally just started talking to my classmates around me whenever I could. So for example, one of my majors, which was in Spanish, if I got to class early, most of the time there were other students early as well. And I would just start talking like, hey, hi, I'm Estrella. Oh, cool, da-da-da. And then usually if the vibe was good, I would be like, oh, can I have your number so we could study together? And then I would just go from there. You could also just ask for their email if you don't feel that comfortable with sharing your phone number like that yet. And then when I would go to the multicultural event, I would just go ahead and introduce myself to people. And don't get me wrong, I was definitely nervous. I know I'm on YouTube, so you're probably thinking, how does this girl get nervous? No, trust me, I get nervous. I'm the type of person that you may not think gets nervous, but my left foot is actually shaking, but I just have my left foot behind my right foot. But what really helped me get past my fear of going up to people, introducing myself, talking to them, figuring out what majors they were in so we could collaborate together, what helped me get past that fear was me knowing that I wanted to give myself the best possible university experience. And for me to be able to do that, I would have to talk to people so that I could study better, so that I could network better, so that I could just create the experience and memories that I always wanted to make sure I had to, again, one day look back on and just smile. And that's why I really, really, really want you to know that I believe in you and that you got this. And if I believe in you so wholeheartedly, I want you to believe in you so much as well that you get past that fear, that you get past that imposter syndrome. I'm not gonna lie, fear, imposter syndrome, it will always be there. It will always try to creep up. But as we get older, as we develop stronger strategies to overcome it, we can lessen that voice to make it quieter and quieter, where it won't completely dictate what actions you take to help you move forward towards success. And as that saying goes, closed mouths don't get fed. And I want you to get fed. So you got this. And if you ever need a nice motivation boost to get you to do that, you can always reference this video. You could always go to my podcast if you want more of an audio version, or you can even just go onto my Instagram where there's thousands of motivational quotes and sayings that I share with all of you, because this is the secret. First generation students, we know how to hustle. We know how to do the work, but sometimes it's our imposter syndrome, our survival mentality, limiting beliefs that try to hold us back. But that's the thing. Those thoughts, those fears, they don't dictate you. You can control them and push them away, because you deserve to give yourself only the best and only good things. Now transitioning over to numero tres, your experiences as a transfer student at a 4-year university. Now let's go ahead and highlight first advice I have for you for your professional experiences at a university campus. Now, don't get me wrong, going to class is important. Going to these events on your campus is important, but you want to know what's just as important? Going to your professor's office hours. Now, let me go ahead and share a story with you. So when I was starting my senior year, I was reflecting back like, I just finished my junior year. I didn't get as involved as I wanted to in regards to organizations and research. I was able to serve as a research volunteer for a PhD student in the communications department, but I still felt like that wasn't enough, because during that time I was figuring out which major I was fully going to commit to before global studies, Spanish, all that fun stuff. And then yes, I had my on-campus job, but I was like, I still was feeling like I need to add something else. I should have more in the regard that it aligns with my career aspirations and goals. So once my first quarter of senior year started, I started attending my professor's office hours more and more, because yes, I would attend them my junior year, but I could have done a little better. But also, I don't want to be too hard on myself, because we live and we learn. Trial and error is the key. And then one thing led to another. One of my professors whose office hours I was going to all the time, at that point I had taken 2 classes with him. And because the major was in Spanish and I was looking into grad school for either Spanish, eventually Chicano-Chicana studies, all that fun stuff, I asked him if it would be possible for me to be a volunteer research assistant for him. And little did I know, he said yes. And to be honest, one of the reasons why I know he didn't hesitate to say yes is because 1, I had taken those 2 classes with him, and 2, I had gotten A's in those classes, and 3, I always participated in every class session, because honestly, I just wanted to make sure I stood out to, again, make the most of my university experience. And shortly after, that's exactly what happened. And I was in charge of organizing articles written in Catalan for his upcoming book. And he was honestly super awesome to work with, because he knew I was a hard worker, so he didn't have to be checking in every single week if I was doing what I had to do. We would have our check-ins like once a month, and it worked out that I was still taking classes with him my senior year. And that experience alone really planted in my head even more, if this professor was able to support me in this way, because they want to see me win, what else is there for me to do? The next thing you know, one of my other professors, I started attending her office hours. And we're just talking, I'm sharing with her, yes, I'm thinking grad school, this and that, this and that. Y luego me mira y me dice, Estrella, you should consider doing a senior honors thesis. That is going to help you so much when applying to grad school, as well as just your future career endeavors. Because writing a thesis, especially in Spanish, is super challenging and takes a whole other level of dedication. Of course, there were GPA requirement for it, and when she shared the GPA requirement, I remember telling her, I don't know if I meet it. Let me go ahead and check. And that conversation alone helped me realize I was well over a 3.5 GPA for that project. I go back to the professor's office hours, we continue talking, I share with her my brief proposal. She then agrees to be my advisor. Same thing, her and we would meet probably twice a quarter, because this was really an independent project. And I just remember how proud I felt of myself, because when I had just transferred to UC Santa Barbara, I was so worried that I wasn't going to be able to do it. that it was going to be too hard, everything, just so then a year later, through so much trial and error and just wanting to give myself the best academic opportunities possible, I was now a first generation Latina student working on her senior honors thesis. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the whole process was not glamorous. Honestly, my favorite part of the whole process was being able to utilize the literature books at the UC Santa Barbara Library. That was my most favorite, and I read so many books. But I will tell you this, I didn't read every single book from beginning to end. I would read and then effectively skim to make sure that this book was what I needed to support my thesis. And you know, there were some that had a great title, but they weren't really going to support me. And then there were others that were awesome and were exactly what I needed. And now let's focus on the life experiences. And this one, I am going to leave it a little short. For your life experiences, I want you to remember that el trabajo nunca se acaba. And the reason why I say that is because it took me so long to remember that. I mean, you all heard me share with you, I was a double major, I picked up a thesis. Yes, all that sounds wonderful, but again, you're still human. You still have every right to live your experiences, to look back on and just enjoy. One of the things I do regret I didn't do was studying abroad, because at the time, I just didn't know any better. And I wasn't sure if it was gonna help me so much professionally, which I was so wrong. And I wish I would have done it. So if you're thinking about studying abroad, I highly recommend that you do it, because most of the time when you ask someone if they studied abroad and they say no, most of the time they end up wishing they did. All right, mi gente, so that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I greatly appreciate you. If you haven't already, please make sure you are subscribed to the Cafecito con Estrellita network. If you are looking for more one-on-one and community-based support and you're a first-generation student or graduate, please check out the Cafecito con Estrellita membership. I'm going to link it down below, and I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Cuídense y hablamos pronto. Adiós.